Hi, this is Amy Plum, author of the Die For Me series, answering some questions today for the new Ulm Library reading group. And these questions were sent to me by Chris Wiley to be answered by some friends that I had staying with me here in France. That is Tessa Gratton, Josephine Angelini, and Carey. So I'm going to answer, this is going to be a little bit mixed up because all of us answered the questions. So the first question was, are there any movie plans for your books? And Tessa Gratton said, not at this time. I can say the same thing, not at this time. Carey answered, Eve has been optioned for TV. As soon as I have news, I'll report it. And Josie answered, I'm holding off on any movie plans. I don't think something like that should be rushed. So I'm taking my time until I feel like all the right elements come together. But if they ever do, I'd be happy to make a film. I think we'd all be happy if there was a film of Star-Crossed. The next question, what are you currently reading? Josie answered, Once by Carey. It's awesome, even better than Eve. What a good recommendation. Let's see, what is... Anna's currently reading they have a deal, Star-Crossed by Josie Angelini and The Marbury Lens by Andrew Smith. Loving both for different reasons. Star-Crossed because it's such a perfectly grounded supernatural romance, and Marbury Lens because it deals with the effects trauma can have on the mind. It's an important story for boys everywhere. Okay? And Tessa answers The 12-Fingered Boy by John Homer Jacobs, which comes out next year from Carol Ronda Lab. And The Shadow Cats, a novella by Ray Carson to go with her books, The Girl of Fire and Thorns, and The Crown of Embers, which I loved. Okay? And my own answer, I have it in my pile that's holding my camera. I am reading A Death in the Family by Karl Ove Knausgaard, who is a Norwegian author who I met at the Edinburgh Film Festival. And it caused a huge scandal in his home country of Norway, so I really wanted to read that. All right, next question. What are your opinions as on why paranormal is so popular right now? Is it because reality sucks? I'll answer that first. Reality does sometimes suck. And it is very nice to be able to escape our world and go into somebody else's story, not only set in this world and time, but maybe something a little more magical. For me, I love escaping through books. I always have. Let's see, Tessa answered, I've always loved fantasy for 20 years now, so I don't really have insight other than to say that the rest of the reading world has finally discovered what I've known all along. All right, and I think, let's see, Anna did not answer that one. Josie says, I think people come to paranormal for all kinds of different reasons. For some, it's an escape from reality, and for others, it's because they appreciate the enormous amount of creativity and originality in YA right now. The lovely ladies I'm kicking around France with are a perfect example of that. All of their books are so imaginative and exciting that I read them not to escape, but to appreciate a great story. Okay, the next question was for me. What's up, Amy, with writing that short piece from Jules's point of view, putting it out there that he's in love with Kate? And is that avenue pursued in your third book? Yes, it is. It is pursued in that third book, If I Should Die, which comes out May 2013. A lot of people have been asking me what Jules' real feelings were about Kate. And I know that a year is a long time to wait. So I decided just to give you a little feeling for what Jules thinks about Kate. And I promise you, it will be followed up. Oh yes, it will. All right, next question was for Carey. This says, let's see, oh, that's Tessa's. I really enjoyed Eve. One of the reasons I liked this book is that I liked Arden so much, as well as Eve and Caleb. I have found that I like secondary characters almost as well as main ones, that I am in good hands with that author. Thank you. And Anna responds, you're welcome. I have always thought of Eve and Arden as two halves of the same whole. One of the reasons they become friends is because they have so much to learn from each other. They need this friendship to grow. Eve learns from Arden's strength and sheer will to survive, and Arden learns from Eve's kindness, her honesty, and her willingness to be vulnerable. All right, the next question was for Josie. Will you give us a hint on whether the Helen-Lucas relationship will progress or deepen in the third book? And Josie says, the relationship progresses, but I think I should warn everyone. Greek tragedy never ends in sunshine and roses. Helen and Lucas still have lots of hard times ahead. All right, the next question is for Tessa. And that is, okay, Tessa, there's an awful lot of blood in your series. What kind of research did you do before you began these books? And Tessa replies, I've been reading about the history of magic and religion since I was about 13 years old. So I could tell you I spent 15 years researching blood magic and the Blood Keeper. It included reading about world religions and magical rituals around the world, anthropology of witchcraft, medieval alchemy, American folklore, studying the practices of the Pennsylvania Dutch, body snatchers in Scotland and America, and a lot of really creepy and random Google searches about how long it takes blood to clot and how much vinegar you need to keep it fresh. Once I cut myself chopping vegetables and stood there dripping all over the counter while I paid attention to how the blood stretched through the grooves of my fingerprints. That's pretty twisted, Tessa. All right. Let's see, the next question. Let's see. This is for Josie. One of our librarians reads a lot of YA. Actually, she reads a lot, period. And she's wondering if there's a line you have to tread regarding how far to take the inevitable romance because you're writing for a younger audience. As librarians, we tread that line when we recommend books. Josie says, this is something that I go back and forth thinking about, and I know that every YA writer has to consider. I personally don't want to rush my readers into the heavy romantic scenes, but there's still the burden of remaining true to the characters. I think that with every book you have to decide the best way to honor your characters' journeys, and for each writer that is going to mean something different. I also tend to shy away from too much kissing. I get embarrassed writing it. Josie just took the words out of my mouth there. I get so embarrassed writing kissing scenes too. It's not natural to me. And that is something I've also had to consider, that I've had librarians and parents talk to me about and ask if I was going to have sex in, not personally of course, in the Die For Me series. And I kind of brushed off the question because I really had to think about it. It was a very hard choice because, as Josie said, I think you have to remain true to the characters while still considering your readership. And let's see. The next question, Anna answers. We have a couple of young writers who would love to hear any nuggets about your writing process. Anna says, I outline extensively before I start a book so I have a clear sense of where the story is going. The outline will generally summarize what happens in each chapter, and I write an overall summary of the later books in the series. I tend to write my first drafts pretty quickly, within 2.5 to 3 months, and then I spend about 6 to 8 months revising with my editor. It's in that time that the story really takes shape. I think there's a lot of mythology around the making of a book. How does it go from the writer's head to the page? It all comes out as a finished product. Young writers need to know it's a process, sometimes a very long process. Don't be too hard on yourself if your first draft isn't perfect. First drafts never are. And Josie says, I always start with the outline. I need to know how my story ends before I start it. Then I write detailed character bios so I can see how each of my characters grow and change, and how they relate to each other. I do a lot of prep work before I write chapter 1, so I don't get stuck. And my answer is the opposite. I am a pantser, flying by the seat of my pants. An example today is I was writing my new book, Juno, and my protagonist did something that surprised me so much. She's awesome. She totally surprised me. I would never have thought that she would have done something like she did. And for me, that's the fun in writing, when you don't know what's going to happen next. So I can't plan. I pants the whole thing. Thank you so much for sending your questions, and happy reading.